All right, good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday. We are live with the first time storytelling broadcast, and my guest this morning is Jennifer Klein. Jennifer is a flag builder, a self-taught woodworker, as you can see from the great
Yeah.
background. We are in her workshop, who has found her purpose through honoring first responders and veterans. She's also been quite busy in the process, changing stereotypes in the trades. She's here today to share the story of the many first times that followed the death of her husband. Thank you for being on the show, Jennifer.
Thank you, Anne. I appreciate the time and having you invite me. It's just an honor to be here. Thank you.
Well, I have been watching your YouTube channel and you have such an incredible story. So I look forward to have you share what your journey has been like. Now, it does start, unfortunately, with a tragic accident and the death of your husband. So can you tell us what was happening during that time and how he passed away, and then what you had to carry on?
Sure. Well, I'm a mother. I have two children. At the time, my daughter was 12, my son was 4. Actually, my husband's accident happened on my son's 4th birthday. But at the time, of all things, at the time, I had a very good marriage. I had a very good life. I was a stay-at-home mom. We had a typical, my husband went to work. He was a maintenance man. He was very handy. I was not, but we had just a normal, traditional, I took care of the house. I took care of the kids. He was the handyman, and he, like I said, left actually for work on our son's 4th birthday and was killed on his way by a driver that came through an intersection. So I just kind of was left with, where do I go from here? If you want to talk about first, it's like, where do I go?
Yeah. So first you have to deal with the shock. You have to cope
the shock
with
of
everything.
it, yes, which takes time. It takes time. When you finally do get sleep, every morning you wake up, it's like the gravity hits you. Oh my goodness, this is my reality. I don't want it. And you have to first deal and process with that shock of what your new life, it's like having the rug ripped out from underneath you. So after that, then you can start rebuilding, but it does take time.
But for you, the rebuilding is where things really shifted and changed. Now you had moved into a fixer-upper, correct?
Well, right. Well, it was Gary's. This has been this farmhouse has been in Gary's family for over 100 years. We think it dates back to about 1818. So when I moved in, he was a bachelor. So every room you went into was like the ugliest room you've ever seen, because he really didn't do anything to it to make any upgrades or doing anything to make it. Just was functional. So when I moved in here, when we met, we little by little, room by room, were fixing up the place. So actually the time when he passed away, our living room was gutted, like down to the studs. So really, after I took care of the funeral and everything that had to be done like that, it was getting into fall time, and we're down to studs. There's no insulation, there's no nothing. So thankfully, the maintenance men that he worked with at Kent State came in, and they put in, the insulation and put up the drywall. But it was just things like that had to be, I couldn't ignore it. It had to be done. And I had to make the decision, you're either going to lay down in a ball on the floor, or you're just going to have to put on your boots and pick your chin up and go forward. And that's the route I decided to take.
So you definitely made the decision to continue to embrace what you all had started together.
Yeah.
Initially, you hired some people, but eventually something shifted in you, correct?
Yeah. Well, okay. So we had dreams, mainly me, and he slowly came around to it, but I had dreams of not only just fixing up our house, but adding on to it, making it the home that it deserved to be, that we wanted it to be. And we really had to add on to do that. So I had drawn a picture, and I'm a very big believer in storyboards and dream boards and like the law of attraction. So I had drawn a picture, and it hung on our refrigerator of what I would do with our house if I could. And he was on board with it. At first he wasn't, but he was like, you know what? I really think that's beautiful. I would like to, so that was our dream. And I had to, after his passing, decide that I'm going to carry on with that dream. I'm going to, in his memory, I owe it to him and his family members that still call this grandma's house, to make our home as beautiful as it can be, and carry. Unfortunately, his life ended, but mine still had to continue. And I felt the best way to do that was to honor him by continuing.
So what did that journey of continuing lead you to?
So that led to me hiring an architect, having him draw up plans, having me pull permits, having me hire people to do the work. I oversaw everything. And after they did the majority, because obviously at that point I didn't have any handy skills, but I started to tinker with things around the home and started to teach myself. And one of the very first things I did was, he had an archery stand in the backyard. And I decided I was going to turn that into like a gardening shed and put cedar shakes on it and put doors. And this is how little I knew. I drug out all of his tools, everything into the yard, thinking, here I am, I'm ready to work. And I could not open his miter saw. The last time he had used it, he had it shut. And there's a little thing on the side that you lock it shut. It's just like a safety lock. So that was almost my first and last handy thing that I ever did, because I almost gave up right there. I almost said, forget it, I'm throwing in the towel. But as I'm out there going, what do I do? Why did you leave? You know, I'm having a feeling sorry for myself moment. And I was half praying, half yelling at him, half, what do I do? Help me. And this feeling of calm came over me. And I said, Jennifer, think about it. Calm yourself down and think about it. And I went, okay, well, you know, I looked at it and I thought, oh, I wonder what this thing over here does. And I turned it and bloop, the thing popped open. Like a buoy out of the ocean, bloop, can pop it open. And then I was able to work. And actually, I'll have to send you pictures of how that project turned out. For not having a clue, it really turned out pretty wonderful.
So how are you teaching you though? So you're working now with power tools that you've never worked with before. So yeah. How are you learning all of this?
Well, YouTube is a wonderful thing, because if I ever have any questions, I might watch a video, and then I might tinker and learn a little bit, and then I might put a video out of my own, because I really feel I do have a story, and because I've overcome these things, that it's my duty to inspire others. And I, particularly women who might find themselves in the same boat that I was in, that are intimidated and might pick up a tool and think this is only for men, or I've not seen other women doing that. So I feel like we all have a purpose. I feel I have a few of them, and I think that that's one of them. So I just little by little, you just figure it out as you go.
Exactly. I mean, you're not going to be a pro overnight. You have to first pick it up, try it. Feels odd, feels awkward, but in due time, you get comfortable with it. Now, where does the woodworking fit into this? How did you get into the woodworking?
Well, just from tinkering at home and doing things, and I would post things online. And at that time, I was mainly just on Facebook, and I had my friends and family that I was connected to, but just sharing things like my small victories. Oh, hey, look at this linen closet I redid. I tore it out and I redid it. Look how pretty it is. Well, I kind of gained like a handy reputation. And at that time, because years had passed by then, I was working at a courthouse, and I was a grand jury. I'm a paralegal, so I was working with the grand jury, and most all of the witnesses that would come in to testify were officers. So just getting to know all of those officers, one of them asked me to make a thin blue line flag. And that's where the flags come in, because I made that first flag, and then people started putting in orders, and then it just took off from there. And I've really, a lot of great things have come from it. I've never looked back.
How did he even know to ask you to make that?
Just because he's a friend of mine on Facebook, and he saw it. And he'd probably see like my hands, like my,
calluses and
callus. Yeah, I have a couple little, but like, splinters and, an occasional, oops, look what I did, or paint. I always come into work and I'm signing things and I have like spray paint on my hands. Like that was a dead giveaway. But he was a friend of mine, and he knew. And at the time it was kind of funny, because he said, I have a project and kind of like a business proposition. It could turn into a business. I remember thinking, Ben, I'll make your flag, but like what business? Like I didn't expect that I was going to be doing this here almost 3 years later, making flags. But
So
I
there's some
am.
behind you. Can you
There
show
are. Yeah.
us?
So
Yeah.
this is, yeah. So I have two American flags behind me. One is the traditional 13 stars. I call it my Betsy Ross. This other one is going to be pretty much the same thing, but with it's going to a Navy veteran.
Oh, nice.
So these are little emblems I can buy from a supplier, and then I put them on to tailor make them. What's special about my flags, I think it's kind of like the secret sauce. I write messages inside of them, and not that the people can see them, but like I know they're there. Just
Ah.
messages of gratitude and thanks, and I get really choked up even just thinking about it. Sometimes it's just I'm inspired by maybe I'm listening like to the Christian music on my radio, and like there's a lyric that I really like, and I've just put that in there.
That's
So
very
that's just like the
moving.
secret. That's just, my secret ingredient that I put that I don't know that any other flag makers do that. And the people that get them can't see what I wrote, but they know they're there.
Yeah, you're sending out a message to
Yeah, I
them.
feel like
And
it's just good vibes.
yeah. So how many do you end up making a
Oh,
year now?
that I don't know. And because I left my job at the courthouse, I'm doing this full time. My business has slowed a little bit because of I'm not around the people all the time every day, but I still do get orders through LinkedIn and social media. I try to do probably about 2 or 3 a week.
Okay. How long does it take to do one?
That is the $1,000,000 question, because I honestly don't know, because one day will be spent tearing pallets apart and getting the boards ready. I have to rip the pallet boards. And then I try to do things. After I have the wood cut into lengths, then I might try to spray paint a few at a time. I'm going to guess probably about 3 hours by the time I do all of that. If I add up the time, the prep work, and actually assembling one, and then like gluing the stars on, probably about 3 hours.
Okay. Now, what about the farm? Is the farm projects all done, or is that ever going situation?
Never. Anyone that you own a home, that it's just a never ending. I will always be working on this house. It will probably never be done. I don't know that I ever want it to be done, though. A lot of what I do with my videos are just things I'm doing around the house. And I really think that after I get it maybe all the way done, then I'll have to start back. Things that I did, like the dining room that I decorated, is going to be out of date, and I'll have to start. But I like to be busy. I really like to be doing those type of things.
Oh, that is awesome. Now, I saw a video, you participated in a DeWalt competition,
I
or
did.
what was
Well,
that all about?
that was because of my flags, and that was through Facebook. And that was a turning point in my life that kind of gave me a direction on where one of my purposes, which was inspiring women. I had taken pictures and posted them online on Facebook of my thin blue line flags. And I happened Gary's drill, because remember when he passed away, I was left picking up his things, and he bought DeWalt tools. So naturally actually it's right here. Sorry to go off camera. This is his DeWalt drill, which still works. Very old, but it was his drill that happened to be sitting around, and I said, I'm going to take a picture of these flags, and his drill was there, and I kind of posed, kind of cute, kind of funny picture, and somebody commented, you should share that to DeWalt's Facebook page. So I thought, oh, okay, I will. So I did. And soon after that, they came up with they announced a Show Us Your Tough contest. And the premise was to take a picture and to post it, and then have people vote on it, and to tell about how you use your tools, and that type of tell your story. So I did, and I felt I had a pretty compelling story. So it was an online contest, but really I won because I badgered every last soul that I knew to, hey, go on there and vote for me. I really want to win this competition, because the prize was fabulous. It was a trip to Vegas, and I got to meet their bull riders, and I got to see the PBR finals, the bull riding competition. I got to meet them. I made flags to give to them. It just was an amazing trip. But that's how my background kind of with DeWalt started, is that it was Gary's tools that I picked up.
That's
And
awesome.
it's
So
led great things.
Have you had a lot of correspondence on social media, email with women who have found your
Oh
content
yeah.
and just been inspired? And do you have any of like have they sent you pictures of things that they've
Oh
done,
yeah.
or are there
Yeah.
some memorable ones that you can share?
Yeah. And then, you know what? They touch me. One of the things I said in my YouTube, one of my first YouTube videos, I was very intimidated about picking up Gary's tools. But I reminded myself, this tool doesn't know it's me and not Gary. So
Mm.
that is what I want women to know. Like the tools you're picking up, they don't know, they don't differentiate who has them. So that in the hands of me is just as powerful as anybody else. So they've sent me pictures. There's one woman named Gwen who's a TikTok follower, and she's tagged me, and I get choked up watching. She posted a video. She was afraid of using a drill for the first time. And I think she made a compost bin and drilled holes in this plastic container. And she made a TikTok video and tagged me and said, and the caption was, "This is my first time with a drill. I was afraid, but now I'm not anymore." And she put it to Katy Perry's "Eye of the Tiger." Is that the song? You know
Yeah, I
which
think so.
song.
Yeah. Yeah.
Roar, roar, it's
Sure.
Roar. And I almost was in tears watching that video because it just was something I did. So it resonated with somebody, and now I can see the trickle down effect that, oh my goodness, all of this work that I'm doing isn't for naught. There are little girls too that send me messages in other countries that say, "I'm going to do that project with my mom. Thank you." And those are the types of things I didn't think about when I put out my videos. I didn't know
Yeah.
who they were going to touch.
When you picked up your first drill, put out your first video,
Yeah.
and embrace your first projects and kept going from there. I mean, you don't know where things might lead you, but if you don't do that first, then you'll
Yeah.
never know. I mean,
Yes.
like I was telling you before we went live, I was 42 years old when I finally, I handled a drill before that. I mean, my father's in construction, my brother's in construction, but I never really used a drill until my son. I was like, "You better have a drill before I get there." And she was coming for us to hang ornaments and hang poles for the curtains and all of that stuff, because I was
Yeah.
determined that for the first time I was going to actually establish a home. Like I was going to make it
Right.
home. And the first time it felt really weird and awkward, and then a couple of days later, like I was telling you, I'm hanging upside down, the drill's upside down, I'm on my tiptoes, and I'm drilling a hole, and I just felt completely at home and comfortable with it.
Yeah.
And I would absolutely pick up any other power tools and do, I would love to do woodwork, metalwork. I don't care. I mean, at this point, like I love how you said that. The tool doesn't know
It
whose hand
doesn't
is on
know.
it. So, and
Doesn't know.
there's, it's normal to feel slightly intimidated at first, but you will get comfortable with it,
Yeah.
and it becomes second nature.
Yeah.
So I love your story, and I love what you're promoting and doing. It's just so
Thank you.
amazing.
Thank you.
So where do you want to see things continue to grow?
I would love for my social media followings to grow. I think that is an honor and a great thing. But personally, I have my own goals. And one goal for me is I would love to be DeWalt's first woman in their catalog, because
Oh,
even today, and the company has been fabulous to me, and this is a no way towards them. It's actually the whole entire tool industry. But in their catalog, there are no women, not one. And it's my goal to be the first. In fact, behind me on my workbench, I have their catalog, and I taped a picture of myself with those tools, like the reciprocating saw. I have a picture of myself. I taped that on that reciprocating saw page, that I want to be in their catalog. I think it's time.
absolutely. It's definitely time. You should get, what are those, petition. You should get a petition started.
Yeah.
For
I'm just
people to,
hoping through putting things out that they see them and go, you know what? We should include women. Who can we include? Hey, where's that Jennifer lady? We keep seeing her. She's a faithful follower and a faithful brand ambassador for us. Hey, maybe we should use her.
Yeah.
So that's one goal of mine.
Well, it's incredible how long it does take industries, businesses to catch on to. There's a female market. There's a complete huge female market that you could leaving untapped, and there's so many.
Half the population.
Yeah, and there's so many women who live alone, are not looking to have somebody else do things for them. They want to learn how to do it themselves, and you're leaving that market completely on tap. One of the places where I kept seeing that was going to sporting events and looking around and seeing how many women were sitting, you know, whether it's a hockey game or a football game. And the NFL got really smart about it. They started having the pink shirts with the logos.
Yeah.
But if you looked at the marketing and the advertising taking place in those stadiums, it did not cater at all to women, and yet there they are sitting in those seats and being ignored. Being completely ignored.
I know.
You know, you want that reflected, and that just grows the understanding of, hey, yes, I can do it too.
I can,
and I want to do it, and you know, cater to me.
Exactly. And women in the trades, I think that is going to come. Women definitely, as in construction and engineering and being out on the work site. That, okay, I agree, that is a small fraction right now, but there's still, like, where does it start? It starts with us leading the way and showing, you know, I hope little girls are watching and going, hey, I want to grow up and be a furniture builder, or I want to build houses or whatever. But it's got to start somewhere, you know, and look how many women own homes, like you said, or just should have a drill, or like, how about a tire inflator? Or there's so many products that women right now do need, even if they're not going to make trades, maybe their livelihood. But look at Etsy. Look at how many people are making things. How do you think they're making those things? They've got to have drills and saws and all of that. So I really think that, you know, there are women right now that would buy that product, but nobody's talking to them.
I completely agree with that statement. And there are women who would try it for the first time, and even women who have husbands who are like, hey, I appreciate that you can do it, but I would teach me. Like, I would like to learn how to do that. It's one of the things right now during the pandemic that I've been telling people, teach each other things.
Yes.
And one of the things is go in the garage with your husband and learn how to use those tools. Because it's great. One, it's time together. You're sharing that experience and you're learning something new, and it's skills that's valuable to have and to know. Because one, he might not always be there. You don't want to think about that, but it's unfortunately a reality that could come to be, and it. Yeah, I can't just.
You don't want to be left in my spot where I was like, oh, how do I use my saw? But I don't look at things, and you probably don't either, as women's work or men's work. It's just life skills.
Yeah.
Everybody needs to know how to cook a good meal. Everybody needs to know how to do these things. So yeah, like my dad, it's kind of funny, you know, he's a skilled welder. We hang out in each other's shops now. Like, he'll come over and he'll look at, oh, what'd you do, Jenny? And like, he'll come in now and he'll just come right in my basement and start looking around and, you know, what did you build now? And I think how sad we didn't have that time together when I was a child, but it just was a different time. And, you know, there were 3 girls, and maybe he just thought they wouldn't be interested, and maybe I wouldn't have been, but I really wish as a dad, like, dads, grab your, you know, daughters and have them come, and moms, grab, and sons, everybody, just teach. If you have knowledge, teach it.
Yeah,
no matter what.
Cross pollinate, so that it's an even playing field. Same thing. Like, I was, you know, my dad, brothers are in construction. They learned so much more from him than I got to learn. And thankfully, my stepmom also runs the construction business, and she's really the one who taught us. And she had to learn because my dad wasn't doing it. He was doing it for the job, but she still had to do it at home.
Yeah.
And I love her because she's the type of person who, okay, well, fine, I will just learn how to do it. And she's definitely taught us to have that mindset. That's why when she came here, she's like, yeah, no, you're going to run the drill. You're going to do this. You're going to learn how to do it. I'm not going to do it for you. I'm going to
Right.
teach you how to do it.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
what about your kids? Do they, because they're older now, do they participate, do woodwork or?
Well, my son is he's going to be a junior in the fall, and he has signed up for Maplewood Career Center for his last 2 years, and he wants to go into carpentry. So I'm really proud of that. My daughter, not so much, but I do show her, she'll come over. I need you to put air in my tires. I'm like, you need to, I'm going to show you how to do this, but this is a skill you need to know on your own. So she's not so much interested, but I have shown her some basic things. And she might get to a point in her life where she does want to learn.
Yeah. And that's the other thing. And that's to understand that desire to have those skills, it's fluid, and you're never too old to learn.
Yes,
Never too
exactly.
late, and you're never too old
Right.
to learn. So it's a great time when you have nothing to do to say, what's something new that I can learn, a new hobby, a new skill that I can pick up on.
Yeah.
So it's just been awesome. And I really hope, I'm still all for starting that petition, but I really hope.
Well, they can do it in a nice way. They know about me. They follow me. They watch me. They're all connected with me. They know. They see it. They know where to find me.
sometimes they still need a little bit more.
Yeah.
Well, somebody else can start the petition for you. So
okay.
Give them a little bit more of a gentle push of, because it's not just coming from you, but it's coming from the audience that you are attracting that wants to be reflected and represented appropriately.
Right.
So, all right. And then that's how you do kill those old mindset, because right now when you open up, whether you open it or a man opens it up, all they see reflected back is them. If they start seeing women there, it's also going to make them think, maybe I could teach my daughter this.
Right.
She's there. Why can't my daughter know this? So it's how change happens.
Right. It does.
All right.
Time.
Let's shift on over to the first time lightning round. So
okay.
Ask you some options. If it's something you've done before, then you would swipe up if you were on the app. So you'll just say up. If it's something you've never done, not interested, then it's left. It's something that you've never done, would like to do, then it's right.
Okay.
And then if it's something you've done, I might go ahead and ask you if you remember your first time. Okay. Go antique shopping.
That is a swipe right. I'd like to do it.
All right. Have you ever been bit by an animal other than a mosquito?
Yes.
What is the story behind that?
Well, I'm a beekeeper. My husband, I forgot to mention, one of the things that Gary, he was a beekeeper. So that was another first. I had to learn how to be a beekeeper. So I've been stung many times. So does stinging count?
Yeah, it sure does. But wow. Okay.
Oh, yeah, I've been stung a lot.
So you still maintain the bees now?
Yes.
Oh, are you worried about these killer coming? I'm
keeping an eye on it. I don't think we need to be, the sky is falling, and don't think in a place of worry too much. I'm definitely a positive thinker and a faithful person, but yeah, it's on my radar.
Yeah, awareness of it. That poor bees. I mean,
I know, like, come on already.
we need them for our food supply. We are just making life extremely difficult for them. So, but good on you for raising them and taking care of them. So you sell honey then? I
do. Yeah. I had a honey sale. I had a virtual honey sale. I put it on Facebook and put everything out on the porch. Said, throw the money under the mat or pay me through PayPal. And that's what people did.
How awesome. Man, you're living the life. It's like the very hands-on.
Just have to learn how to pivot,
Yeah. All right. Fabulous. Okay. Participate in the play.
Done it.
Swipe up. What was your first play?
Let me think of my first play. I was in The Wizard of Oz as a child. That was probably my first play. My mom signed us up during the summertime. At Kent State, they had like a children's program for drama, and I was a tornado.
So it was a good experience. You enjoyed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
I've been in little things along the way. Yeah.
Okay. Get false eyelashes.
Swipe right. I would like that.
Okay. Do paper model.
Paper model, like origami?
No, like the ones you can order, like they're actual either building or planes. They're different things. Like you order them and it's paper and you make a paper model out of it.
I would like to. I've never done that, so that's a swipe right. I might like to do that.
I could definitely see something that would be up your alley. All right. Do Zumba.
Never done it. Would like to.
All right. That's another
Swipe
right. Make pasta from scratch.
Oh, I'm going to have to swipe left on that. I don't have time.
You don't have time.
I'll eat it.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay. Buy a scratch ticket.
I have done that, but it's a waste of money.
So it was not a win. It was not a winner then.
No.
My dad, he buys quite a few scratch tickets and he gets winners like almost all the time. I don't get it. I definitely think there's a mindset to thinking that you're lucky, to thinking that you're going to win.
He's using the law of attraction. But you know what people don't tell you is how much they lost to earn that.
True. But it's crazy. Yeah. I'm the same way. It's very, very, very rare that
me too.
Scratch ticket.
Me too.
Okay. Play Twister.
Swipe up. I've done that.
Swipe up. Take a first aid class.
I've done that.
Done that.
Yeah.
All right. So the next question is today's first time story prompt. And the prompt is your first wedding that you attended.
My first ever wedding?
Yeah. First ever wedding.
I'm trying to remember. The first one I really remember was maybe my aunt's wedding, and I was in it. I was a child. I think I was like the flower girl or something. That was probably it. Yes. Love weddings. I love to dance. So I think that's probably what and it was cold. It was winter time. I remember the dresses were itchy. But I love the reception because I love to eat and I love to dance. So
that's awesome. Yeah, that's my first wedding. Same thing. It was my cousin's wedding, and I was also a flower girl, and she married a Canadian mounted police officer. So cool. It was awesome because they were all in uniform, and I definitely remember being in the white dress and walking down the aisle and doing the flower thing. And I love that I was also the center of attention. It's kind of like my first time getting that position. And I was like, I like this. I'm important. and then at the wedding reception is actually where I got my first kiss. So
that was a good memory.
So it turned out to be a very memorable event. Yeah, for sure.
How cool.
Awesome. Well, the final question is, how have you been making the best of the current situation of what's happening with the pandemic?
Okay, well, being that I already work at home, I've not honestly had a huge change in my lifestyle other than my son being homeschooled now. I think the biggest change for me is there was a time where I couldn't go to UPS to ship flags. I've kind of been stockpiling them or arranging like for the local people. I'll leave it on my porch. And that's actually been kind of difficult for me because so much heart goes into these and they're going to first responders. And a lot of times the normal would be to hand it to them and to give them a big hug and thank them. And I can't really do that. So I've not been doing maybe flags as much. I've been doing more videos and more crafty things. And I've started doing picnic table, like those little squirrel and chipmunk picnic tables. I think a lot of people have time on their hands and they want to feed the birds and they want to watch the wildlife. So I've actually had a surge in orders of those. So again, I've just made them and stuck them on the porch, put it on Facebook, and I sold 3 yesterday. People just come and pick them up and
How cool
pay
is
me
that?
that way. So yeah, I think people that have a business are going to have to figure out, what do people want right now? And I can go back to that other product, but for right now, what can I do to make money?
That's excellent advice. And it
Yeah,
is that shift, and how creative can you get with that shift? Because there's
right,
still customers out there. You need to adapt to
right.
what they're looking for and then provide that. Do you have one of those little tables handy, or
I do. Actually, this is my first one.
how cute is that? Yeah, I've
This is
seen
like a
like
chipmunk
videos.
size.
Yeah. So they come out, the chipmunk, like the squirrels and chipmunks come out and
I,
they hang
I'm
out
going to
with
make
them.
myself sound a little cuckoo right now. There is a chipmunk that last year would come to me and I could feed it out of my hand. The reason I'm making these is this spring, I hadn't seen the chipmunk. They go into hibernation basically during the winter. So I had not seen my chipmunk, and my daughter sent me I don't know if you've seen on Facebook, these are all over. There's a picture of a squirrel, like this was mounted to a fence, and there's a
Yeah, I
squirrel.
saw that in the squirrel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my daughter sent me that picture and said, your chippy needs a picnic table. So I was like, oh my gosh, I think you're right. So I made this picnic table. This was my first prototype, because I'm like, okay, I'll look at the picture and just kind of figure it out. So I made one, and sure enough, that little booger came out. I've actually done a couple for him out there. So he comes out and he does eat I have videos of him eating at the picnic table. But again, I posted that online and people wanted to put in orders. So I did one like that where I have hooks and I hang it, and I have one for the birds too, and they land on it and they eat. It's just like a tabletop feeder. So I've done those. I've done a larger one for, I do have squirrels in my yard. So there's a larger version of this, just kind of sitting on a stump in my backyard. But this is what people want to buy right now. So I'm doing variations. I've done one, I'm in like around Cleveland. So I did one with like a Cleveland Browns color scheme. Because I think the larger ones would really be good for cheese and crackers, and for like a cookie tray, like if we ever get back to picnics. So I'm thinking beyond squirrels and chipmunks, because not everyone wants rodents on their property, but everybody would like a little picnic table to have like cheese and crackers on. So yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's what's the elf on the shelf? He would definitely want a picnic table too.
Exactly. I know. I was thinking that when I was little, I loved Barbie dolls, and I thought, even Barbie dolls, like I could make Barbie sized ones
Yeah.
for little kids. So yeah.
That is super. That is awesome. All
Thank
right.
you.
Well, you know how to adapt, you know how to overcome. There's no doubt about that. So, nothing but awesome, amazing things are going to keep coming your way for sure. I really
Thank you.
appreciate you coming on the show and sharing your stories with us.
I appreciate you giving me a platform, and I hope that somebody watching will be inspired. And it is a scary time. We will move forward. It'll be okay. Just keep the faith. That's the biggest thing I want to tell people. It'll all be okay.
Thank you.
Going.
Fabulous.
Thank